Before a single Belgian player had touched Lumen Field in Seattle, their fans had already made their feelings known. Walking through the streets toward the stadium, thousands of Red Devils supporters chanted the same two words over and over until the sound filled every street around the venue. FIFA Mafia. 2 words, 4 syllables, and an entire week's worth of fury compressed into a chant that echoed around Seattle long before kickoff. Belgium had been astonished by what FIFA had done to them. They had said so formally, legally, in writing. They had appealed, they had argued, and then they had been told to go and play the match anyway. What happened inside that stadium over the next 93 minutes was Belgium's answer, delivered not in words, not in legal documents, not in press conferences, delivered in goals. 4 of them, each one more emphatic than the last, and the final one followed by a celebration that the football world is still talking about. This is the story of the night Belgium sent a message that nobody in the sport will forget in a hurry. To understand the atmosphere inside Lumen Field, you have to understand what both sets of supporters had been living through for 72 hours before the match began. For Americans, this was supposed to be the greatest footballing night their sport had produced on home soil since the 1994 World Cup. A co-host nation roared on by a capacity crowd of 66,925 fans in one of the tournament's most electric atmospheres, facing an opponent they genuinely believed they could beat. Fuller and Balogun, their most dangerous and most decorated attacker of this tournament, was available to play after the most extraordinary week in American football history. The noise inside the stadium at kickoff was extraordinary. For Belgians, the noise was something else, something sharper, something that had been sharpened all week by a sense of injustice they had not been able to resolve through any official channel. They had filed their appeal, FIFA had acknowledged it, and then the match had gone ahead as if nothing had happened. Belgium had not come to Seattle simply to reach the quarterfinals. They had come to prove a point. And Charles de Ketelaere made that point within the first 20 minutes. The AC Milan forward, one of the tournament's emerging stars, opened the scoring with a header from Leandro Trossard, cross that was both well-crafted and brilliantly executed. Belgium were ahead. The crowd fell into an uneasy silence. And then they were ahead twice. In the space of 120 seconds, de Ketelaere struck again, a far post header arriving at the back of the American defense with the confidence of a player who knew from the very first whistle that this was going to be his night. 2 goals in 2 minutes. Belgium had turned Lumen Field into something close to a library. But America are not a team that accepts its fate quietly. Malik Tillman stepped up to a free kick just outside the Belgium area and struck it with the kind of precision that left Thibaut Courtois, one of the world's finest goalkeepers, completely wrong-footed. The ball flew into the net. The crowd erupted. 1-2. The match was alive, and for a few extraordinary minutes, the possibility of a remarkable American comeback began to feel genuinely real. Except, Belgium are not a team that crumbles when the crowd turns. They're a team built on experience, quality, and a defensive structure that has been tested across some of the most demanding environments in European football. The response came within 2 minutes of Tillman's equalizer. De Ketelaere, already with 2 goals to his name, set up Hans Vanaken with a clever piece of pressing that caught American goalkeeper Matt Freese in possession. Vanaken did not need asking twice. 3-1. The American belief that had briefly flickered was extinguished almost as quickly as it had been lit.
The second half brought the kind of desperate, searching football from the United States that their supporters had hoped for, but their chances could not sustain. Balogun, so pivotal to every positive moment in America's tournament run, had just 10 touches in the first half. His reunion with the pitch for this match, after a week unlike any a footballer at this World Cup had experienced, produced moments of individual quality. He found himself one-on-one with Courtois. He struck it cleanly with his left foot. Courtois was equal to it, spreading himself to push the ball away. It was the closest Balogun came to making the story of his extraordinary week end with a goal. Christian Pulisic, America's most experienced and most decorated player, was substituted in the second half as the contest increasingly moved beyond the United States' reach. The cameras captured him on the bench in the moments after he came off, his kit pressed to his face, the emotion of the occasion and perhaps of the entire tournament overwhelming him in the way that only football can produce in people who have given everything to a cause. And then came Romelu Lukaku. Belgium's head coach, Rudi Garcia, had kept his most experienced striker on the bench throughout the match, a decision that raised eyebrows when it was announced in the pre-match lineup. Lukaku is 31 years old. He is Belgium's all-time leading scorer. He is a man whose physical presence, clinical finishing, and ability to decide a match in a single moment have defined the Belgian national team for the better part of a decade. Garcia brought him on with Jeremy Doku in the second half. The message was unmistakable. Belgium were not just trying to win this match, they were making a statement about the size of the performance they intended to deliver on this particular night. In the 93rd minute of the match, with the scoreline already at 3-1 and the result long since settled, Lukaku received the ball on the left side of the American area following a defensive error from Chris Richards. He took one touch, he looked at goal, and he drove a right-footed finish into the bottom corner with the composure of a man who had been preparing for exactly this moment all week. 4-1. World Cup over for the United States. And then came the celebration. What happened in the seconds after Lukaku's goal has been watched, shared, and debated more widely than almost any other image from this tournament's knockout stages. Multiple Belgian players gathered together in celebration, and the dance they performed, a specific, deliberate movement involving rocking hips and pumping arms, was not random. It was not improvised in the heat of the moment. It was a statement, a direct, choreographed response to the week that had preceded this match. A response delivered not through press conferences or legal documents, but through the most public stage a footballer can find. And it was aimed squarely at the controversy that had surrounded this match from the moment FIFA reversed its own rules 72 hours earlier. Rudi Garcia, speaking after the match to the host broadcaster, did not address the celebration directly. He spoke of the team's unity, of how they had stayed in their own bubble throughout the week of controversy, of how they had made a conscious decision to let the football do the talking. But the football had already spoken, and so clearly had the celebration. The numbers behind this performance tell a story of genuine Belgian superiority that the controversy of the week threatened to obscure, but ultimately could not diminish. Belgium outperformed the United States on expected goals 2.15 to 0.67. Courtois, when called upon, was outstanding, producing the save from Balogun that, in another version of this match, might have changed everything. De Ketelaere finished the night with 2 goals and 2 assists, a performance that announced him unambiguously as one of the tournament's most complete attacking players.
And Lukaku made history with his late strike. He became the first player ever to score as a substitute in 4 different World Cup matches, adding another record to a career that has already accumulated more than most footballers could dream of. For the United States, the evening ended with reflection that will linger long after the tournament is over. Pochi, speaking in the aftermath of the defeat, acknowledged the weight of the off-pitch events that had surrounded the week, describing the politics and manipulation that had overshadowed his team's exit. His frustration was palpable and understandable. He had led a group of talented players through a deeply complicated week, carrying a controversy that none of them had created, and had seen his team eliminated by a performance of genuine Belgian quality. Pulisic's tears on the bench captured something that no scoreline could fully express: the love of a footballer for his country,
the weight of expectation on a squad that had dreamed, not unreasonably, of going deeper in a tournament their nation was helping to host, and the particular pain of an exit that was clean in its footballing terms, but tangled in everything that surrounded it. America's World Cup journey ends at the round of 16. Their last quarterfinal appearance came in 2002 when they were beaten by Germany. That record, unfortunately, remains unchanged. Belgium advanced to face Spain in Los Angeles in the quarterfinals. It is a match between two of Europe's most complete squads at this tournament, and one that promises to be extraordinary. Spain, who beat Portugal earlier on the same day, bring with them a depth of quality and a style of football that has made them one of the genuine favorites for the title. Belgium bring with them something else entirely. A team that has spent a week being told what they could and could not challenge, that was publicly astonished by a governing body that appeared to rewrite its own rules in real time, that walked onto a pitch in Seattle carrying the weight of an institutional argument that never should have been theirs to carry, and answered all of it with 4 goals, a record for their leading score, and a celebration that sent a message heard far beyond the stadium. Football has a way of producing justice on the pitch that its governing corridors sometimes fail to deliver in their meeting rooms. And on this night in Seattle, Belgium delivered their version of that justice with the kind of clarity that only a 4-1 scoreline can provide. The road to the 2026 World Cup final is getting narrower. The names still standing are getting bigger, and the football that awaits in the quarterfinals promises to be among the finest this tournament has produced. But for anyone who watched what unfolded in Seattle, on the pitch and off it, one thing is already beyond argument. Belgium came to this match with something to prove, and they proved it in every possible way.